Hey guys, how's it going? Andy the Afrolev here, an African living here in Moscow, Russia. I have officially been here for 2 years straight. Yeah, I first came here 3 years ago actually as a tourist. And for those of you that are new to the channel, I came here for my wife. And every single year in Russia, I like to make these little videos and tell you guys about things that have basically changed me or how my view of the world has been turned on its head. And I'd like to share with you guys how it is, how it feels living as an African man here in Russia, in Moscow, Russia, for 2 years. So let's get into it. Now, the title of the video talks about how I have changed in these last 2 years. And to be honest with you, I've changed a lot. My view of the world is not the same. And I'll get to that in a minute. But let me just say that some of the things that I have changed about myself are positive and negative. And I think when you live in a place for long enough, you actually begin to become like the people that live in the place of your residence. So to start with, one of the things that has really changed me, I feel like I have become a little bit more privileged. Yeah, because I'm from Botswana. I was born in Botswana. I'm actually from Zimbabwe, but I was born in a village in Botswana named Maun. And I was told not to complain. I mean, black people, you can testify to this. It's like this idea of not complaining about things because you don't really want to make a scene. And I think it's pretty much embedded in colonial culture, if that's even a phrase. I'm going to coin that phrase if it hasn't been coined already, where it's like you basically are used to being submerged under the weight of authority, that you don't tend to complain as much because you're afraid that the consequences will be dreadful. So my culture and the village that I was born in was filled with people that did not like to argue. They didn't like to fight the system. They pretty much went by and they made sure that they didn't get into shit, to put it lightly. But in Russia, there's a standard. And I guess that pretty much changed my way of thinking, because here I am actually complaining about things in stores when I would never do the same thing at home, you know? Because if you're living in Moscow, Russia, for example, your standards are extremely high. You're expecting to get your things on time. You're expecting a certain quality to your products. You're expecting to get your documents when you want your documents. But in my country, you pretty much just throw hands up and it was a Hail Mary, you know, waiting for things that you're actually entitled to happen. But then in Russia, I feel like things are sort of kept to a specific standard. So I almost found myself expecting and complaining more. You know, if a restaurant didn't give me the right coffee, I would actually go out of my way to be like, hey, give me the right one. And it's interesting because usually back home, we would call that white privilege. You know, like when somebody argues and then they get it solved, and it always tended to be the white people that did it. And I'm actually realizing that's not even racial at all. It's more of like being from a place that has higher standards and you complain about it and you get stuff done because you complain about it. So every time I go home, I actually seem like a jackass because I'm there wanting things done when they're supposed to be done. I'm trying to hold this standard and I want to have my things given to me timely and I want them all in due process. And people sort of look at me like, this guy is so picky and fussy. Vice versa. I think if a Russian person moved to my country, they would be absolutely irritated by the slowness and the sluggishness of things. So that's also something that is quite fascinating to me. I think another thing that has changed about me living in Russia is my ability to succumb to the cold. My ability not to freeze to death. I'm pretty cold right now. I'm doing this for you guys, but I am pretty much only wearing a sweater and a coat. And I'll get to something even funnier about me wearing a sweater and a scarf. Keyword is scarf here, because back home, I basically didn't even touch a scarf, you know? And I'll tell you why. But let's get to the reason why I brought up being able to succumb to the cold. Before, during this time of the year, I'd pretty much be bundled up. I have a normal size jacket on, and I have one sweater on, and I have a scarf. And that's enough for me. But before, that was the most incredulous thing that I could ever do to myself. That was suicide. I would never do that to myself, you know? But here I am, pretty much walking down the street and choosing to shoot this video walking outside. In my country, the coldest it gets in winter is about 3 degrees, 2 degrees. And then it pretty much goes back to summer during the day. You know? So I never experienced anything as cold as Moscow or Russia before. So it's kind of interesting. But a really funny thing about actually wearing a scarf is in my country, people only wear scarves if they play for the other team. Yeah, if you're gay, you basically wear a scarf to indicate to the other gay guys that you play for the other team. Which is hilarious because now every single day I wear a scarf. Yeah, in my country, if you see a guy standing by a corner and he's wearing a scarf and he's acting a little bit more feminine, people assume he's gay. Because why would you wear a scarf, right? Why would you wear a scarf? Because we only wear scarves if you're not straight, or perhaps if you're hiding a hickey. But here I am wearing a scarf, and I'm going to be doing it for 6 months straight. And my mind is pretty much exploding right now because I'm like, whoa, I have pretty much put on a scarf as many times as any person that plays for the other team has in my country. Another one is, you know, like how people say Russian people are cold and they don't really show their emotions as much? They're not that cold, actually, but they're very picky in terms of like how they show their affection and how much they smile. I think I've pretty much become the same type of individual because I'm not as smiley as I am in public as I am right now on the camera. I pretty much smile if I'm really entertained by what you're saying or if I actually like you. And that's a stark difference to how I used to be because in my country, smiling is a part of being kind. You know, if you don't smile, people think you're rude. You say hi to everyone and you smile. So long story short, here I am, not smiling as much as I used to at home. And my parents always think that something is wrong. Or if they somehow did something to me and I'm sulking. Because in my normal day-to-day life, even when I'm in the bus, my mind is pretty much becoming more Russian, or it has become Russian, because now my face is pretty much stone-faced. I smile a lot still, but when I'm in public, it's almost like I pretty much put on the Slavic face. So when I go home, my parents think that I'm pissed off. So that's a funny thing as well. And I've kind of grown to love not showing my emotions as often because I have such an elastic face. So when people are talking to me and if I don't like them, generally they know because I'm a very honest person when it comes to showing my facial expressions. But recently, I've slowly become more stoic in the way that I react to things. And I think that's maybe the cold as well. You can't be smiling willy-nilly. The cold, man. You gotta get yourself indoors and, you know, you probably don't want to be chatting up a lot of people because you're trying to get warm. So that's also a dynamic when it comes to moving to a place where people don't smile as much. And I'm basically from a place where people smile way too much, even when they don't like you. And with the stoic stone face, I've also encompassed the ability to go on even when I'm not supposed to go on. Hear me out here. Russian people are some of the most resilient people I've ever met. They have this tendency to pretty much do things because it is necessary. My dad has the same mentality. I'm Zimbabwean. Most Zimbabweans work really hard. But I live in a country where people don't really take work seriously. I lived in Botswana. And in Botswana, the president himself complains about how his own people are lazy. In Russia, Russian people do what they're supposed to do. And the mentality here is like, if you have something to do, do it. It doesn't matter about your comfort. It doesn't matter how you feel. It doesn't matter if it somehow makes you feel fatigued. You do what you must do. And I pretty much learned this from my wife because I've seen her drag herself out of bed to go to a workout at 5 a.m. in the morning, but she also has a 12-hour shift. And that's because the laziness around me has depleted compared to my own country. In my own country, people just don't do things with urgency. Even handling your documents, it's a slow process. Here, everything is just so fast. And I think maybe it's because I'm in Moscow, I'm in a mega city, but it's also changed my mind when it comes to urgency. I'm not as nonchalant as I used to be. I want to finish things when there's time. Maybe I need to impose that on my Russian homework as well, because sometimes I don't do it or I procrastinate. But the point that I'm trying to make is that it's almost like things are done times two speed. Like, you have your player and then you hit times two. Things are done much faster. And some things which I thought were impossible or were too much to ask for are pretty much done quickly, without a hitch. And that has made me a different person as well, because I pretty much sat here thinking to myself, wow, if I actually put myself through the ringer and I put myself into the stoic mindset, I'll actually get a lot done. Because most Russian people are tough as nails. You know that whole stereotype about Russian people being the toughest people you ever meet? It's true. They're tough. Slavic people in general, Caucasian people too, they just are so tough. Very little allows them to be swayed, and very little will allow them to be distorted or derailed from their path. They do things because they must. And to put that into perspective, that is the precise reason why the SMO has continued for so long. Russians and Ukrainians share a very, very similar type of mindset when it comes to getting things done. They don't say die. And they're pretty much the same people, if you think about it, in terms of how Slavic people are so united in the sense that they will fight for their country. And they will do it no matter what side you're on. I think you guys know which side I'm on. I'm in Russia. But the point that I'm trying to make is that they're so determined and they know it's for their country. They know what they're supposed to be doing. They know that it hurts, but they do it anyway because it's something they have to do. And I basically came from a place where even the people that are supposed to be giving your document give you SAS and you paid them and you're actually supposed to receive it in a specific amount of time. And they get angry at you when you request them to give it to you faster. And the bribes are so high because people make your life so difficult when it comes to getting a document that you are pretty much entitled to. So people pay more to get past the bullshit. Imagine wanting to renew something as simple as your passport. And if you're an average guy like me and you follow the law, it'll take so long for you to get done. But if you're somebody that wants it done quicker, you can just jump to the front of the line. So, not to say that there are no bribes here, I have no idea. But the whole point I'm trying to make is like, there is a sense of urgency here. It's not about you, it's about everyone. There's a sense of collectivism where it's like, if I don't do this, it's going to affect my company. If I don't do this, it's going to affect my country. I have not seen that kind of patriotism in my country. That's another thing that has changed about me. I am a lot more patriotic because Russian people are extremely patriotic. I feel this need to continue to make content for you and to inspire my own people and put my flag in my bio, because if I don't, I feel like I failed my country. And Russian people are the same. They love their country so much. So much. I lived in China as well 8 years ago. These are the two nationalities that love their country so much. They bleed their country's colors. My country is pretty much so many people who don't really want to be there and who argue with the government 24/7. But then again, also cause problems by not working hard enough or not putting in the amount of work that it takes to change the country. You know, the people that just complain but do nothing to change the circumstances. So I feel like I have become more patriotic. And maybe one day when I become Russian, which I really hope I will, believe it or not, I feel like I will be so prideful about being a person from this country because they genuinely love their country here so much with all their heart. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video. It was so nice walking around in the cold, almost asking for the flu to come for me, just for your enjoyment and for your information. And if you liked the video, please like, subscribe, and share it with your friends. It's always nice to hear your opinions too, so comment, and I will see you guys in the next one. Ciao.